afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this introductory tour of a very unique conservation initiative. Roundglass Sustain is a not-for-profit that tells stories of India's natural world. We have a lot of engaging content. There are films, stunning photography, evocative writing, humor, infographics, travel guides. There's something for every kind of person. And we use all this content to inspire a sense of wonder and pride in India's wild creatures and the spaces that they inhabit. Now, all this beautiful storytelling is also rigorously fact-checked and ethically created. So it all comes together to form this really comprehensive record of India's biodiversity. What I like to describe as a modern-day encyclopedia that is continuously updated and growing. Our storytellers include award-winning nature and wildlife writers, photographers, filmmakers, illustrators, as well as scientists, academicians, and conservationists. My name is Neha Dara, and I head Roundglass Sustain. And our team of 14 strives together to make all of you fall in love with India's mind-boggling diversity of species and habitats. Now, I want to introduce you to my colleague, Megha Murthy. Megha is the editor-in-chief of Roundglass Sustain and responsible for all the beautiful content that you see on our website and social media handles. Together, she and I are going to give you a peek into the work that we do and how that content is used by people like you, as well as by schools, colleges, conservation organizations, government bodies, and many others.
Thank you, Neha. A very good afternoon to everyone. Before I introduce you to some of our work, I'd actually like to tell you a little about why we do what we do. Now, most people see wildlife as separate from them. Often wildlife is seen as something that is wonderful and special, but as something that's really distant, only seen in the forests. When you go on a safari or when you see that gripping hunting sequence on an Animal Planet or Discovery. But that's really very far from the truth. Wildlife is all around us. It's the caterpillar in our kadipata plant. It's the little sunbird on the seamal tree outside our window. It's the spider in our bathroom. And, this idea really defines our goal at Sustain, to show that nature has a connection with every part of our existence. We believe that once people see this connection, it is inevitable that they will fall in love with the natural world around them. And suddenly you start seeing birds and butterflies and critters on a road that you're walking on every single day. We believe that once people build this relationship with nature, it will not only help sustain them during their lifetimes, but also create advocates for our planet. Our philosophy informs all the decisions on the content that we produce. We've always tried to bring inclusivity along with information to our storytelling, to dispel notions and to open people's minds on how diverse India's habitats and species are. India has mangroves, it has wetlands, it has cold deserts, it has hot deserts, it has rocky outcrops, it has grasslands. Now, each of these habitats is home to some of the most wonderful species. and needs our attention and our protection. Now we know that the planet is full of such incredible species, both large and small. Yet it is a few charismatic species that end up getting a disproportionate amount of attention. At Sustain, it is our goal to show you that even the lesser known species and the little creatures are equally magical and live incredibly fascinating lives. In the course of my work, I've learned of many, many marvelous creatures. Fish that walk on land, lizards that can fly, beetles that can carry 1,000 times their weight. So our first film today showcases really two such incredible superstars that live in the mangroves. This first one is from the Sundarbans.
The tidal mud flats of the Sundarbans. Barren at first glance. But look closer, and this great expanse teems with the strangest creatures. A secret world of tiny animals revealed by the waning tide. A mud skipper. No ordinary fish. They spend most of their lives on land. A fish out of water. Their fins look like elbows, which they use to drag themselves along. Their gill chambers are their scuba diving gear. Instead of air, they carry their personal supply of water. And that's how they breathe on land. But why has this evolutionary curiosity undergone such bizarre adaptations only to live on land? The answer is in the mud. The sediments brought in by the tide are rich in tiny plants and animals, an abundance of nutritious food. Mud skippers can be very possessive of their patch of mud. Intruders are not welcome. A rival. Equally matched in size to the dominant male. It's time for a mud wrestle. The intruder has had enough. He's lost the battle. The winner keeps his favorite patch of mud for another day. But mud skippers are not the only animals fighting over all this sludge. A fiddler crab. The males have one claw larger than the other. It's a weapon, naturally, to defend his territory. The bigger the claw, the greater the fighter. But the claw has another purpose. This male has spotted a female near his burrow. Now the claw becomes a hand to wave at her. She's busy feeding. But he's a persistent suitor. He's decided to follow her around. Still waving, still ignoring. And then, as a sign of consent, she enters his burrow. Quite matter of fact. He follows her in, coaxing her out to mate. Deed done, she gets straight back to business. A passionate suitor seems still a little wanting. With the rising tide, the animals retreat to their burrows, waiting for the next low tide to resume their daily dance.
It is very important for us at Sustain to make natural history compelling and relatable. Everything that we do is steeped in science, but we work hard to make science accessible and fun for all. Whether we're talking of climate change or of bioacoustics, we make sure we eliminate jargon and make it as easy to understand as possible. Our next video is a little film we made for social media on why beehives are hexagonal.
You probably know this hexagonal pattern well. It appears in buildings, solar panels, even your speakers, but most commonly, in your backyard, in beehives. In fact, it's named after bees. This is a honeycomb pattern, and bees always make their hives in it, making rooms that can house hundreds of bees, their eggs, larvae, honey, and pollen. But why are honeycombs always hexagonal? Let us explain. According to the honeycomb conjecture, hexagonal tiling in a honeycomb allows rooms to be spread out at the widest angle while using minimum wax for boundary walls. And that's important because beeswax, the building material honeycombs are made of, is not easy to produce. Bees have to use roughly 8 kilos of honey to make 1 kilo of beeswax. So, hexagonal tiling uses beeswax most efficiently. But how did bees even figure that out? The answer confuses scientists even today. Some observe that bees probably don't know about this, as they don't make hexagons, but circles that eventually melt into hexagons as bees buzz around them, while others note that bees don't let the wax melt further into something else. So they probably know what they're doing. Unless we speak to bees, a clear answer is unlikely. But biomimicry has helped us utilize the properties of hexagons in many areas. We use the honeycomb structure in industrial and architectural design. It's so common today that
telling stories of India's wildlife is incomplete if we do not talk about communities. In India, people often live in very close proximity with wildlife, and the whole idea of interconnectedness of wildlife and people takes on a whole new meaning. This results in a complex relationship, often fraught with challenges. So we try to tell stories of how these communities negotiate this sharing of spaces and resources, and how these relationships evolve in an ever-changing world. Our next film is a heartwarming example of hope in the epicenter of human and elephant conflict in Sonitpur in Assam. Every harvest, the fields of Assam turn into battlegrounds. as people and elephants compete for space and food. Elephants need large ranges to roam and forage. But as the forest shrinks, they find themselves in village paddy fields, raiding crops and homes. Overnight, small farmers lose all that they have worked for. Many lose lives and homes. In turn, hundreds of elephants are mercilessly murdered. The human-elephant conflict is as old as the forests of Assam, intensifying every day as farms and tea estates eat into forest lands. Villagers try several things to prevent these crop raids. Helpless farmers burst crackers, shine bright lights, and use electric fencing to keep elephants away. If all fails, they poison the giants. These short-term measures have only made the situation worse. But hope is brewing in Sonitpur, ground zero of the human-elephant conflict. Organizations are helping farmers look at other sources of income. Like growing crops that elephants do not like eating, farming in their backyards, and rearing livestock to increase revenue. Now that their entire income does not depend only on paddy farming, these farmers are warming up to elephant herds. In such efforts lie traces of hope and a chance to live peacefully with elephants.
One of our most essential objectives at Sustain has been to democratize storytelling about nature, both access to it and the creation of it. When we started Sustain, we worked very hard to create a manner of storytelling that is relatable, accessible, and inclusive. We also chose to make our content in short formats so that even if you only have a little bit of free time, maybe when you're on the metro or waiting at a doctor's office, you can still enjoy some of the wonders of nature. Likewise, the content can be viewed and accessed freely on any device. There is no gatekeeping behind expensive subscriptions. You don't need high-speed internet. You can just watch it on your phone on the go. The films that we make are available in English, Hindi, and the language of the region where they are filmed. This is something that's very important to our hearts because we want the films to be available to the people that they tell the stories of. We currently have content in 9 languages besides Hindi and English. These include Gujarati, Marathi, Bengali, Khasi, Nepali, Sikkimese, Kannada, Marwari, and Oriya. And we're adding new languages every few months. So you can watch the films in the language you are most comfortable with. Now here, as an example of the things I've mentioned above, is a very fun film about unique animal behavior that's only 2 minutes long. You'll see that humans aren't the only ones who enjoy a nice luxury spa day.
In the small town of Dandeli, along the river Kali, a colony of Malabar pied hornbills is having a busy day. With dapper black and white plumage, they look like they are dressed for a tuxedo party. But a smart suit requires meticulous upkeep. To keep their feathers clean, a regular bath is a must. But the river is too deep for a dip. For a few weeks of the year, the solution lies close to the ground. dust bath. A little roll and wriggle, and the dust absorbs excess oil and drives away parasites from their feathers. Dusting is also an excuse to sneak in some romance. A gift of clay can charm a mate. Hornbill pairs mate for life, a union that could last for up to 40 years. Occasionally, hornbills even swallow pieces of clay. The clay helps them digest food, especially toxins. Malabar pied hornbills love fruits and are experts in picking out fruiting trees in any season. A hornbill can eat over 1,000 fruits in a day. But sometimes they face stiff competition. That is when the hornbills rely on the Nux vomica tree, a tree avoided by all others because of its highly toxic fruits. The seeds contain a natural poison, and if consumed, the poison could be fatal. But this doesn't seem to bother the hornbills. Instead, it makes for a quick snack. How these birds manage to eat the toxic fruits is still not fully understood. But rest assured, the forests of the Western Ghats have enough to feed them.
It's not just the stories we tell, but how we tell them that is very important to us. So, for example, when our content creators are out in the field, we urge them and train them to be very ethical and mindful of the creatures and the spaces that they encounter. One of the other things we grappled with when we started Sustain was who gets to tell the story? Why should people from metro cities be parachuted into community spaces and get to tell the stories of people who are living in proximity with wildlife? Should storytelling only be limited to people who have the means and the privilege? We endeavor to address these concerns by creating an enabling environment for regional content creators. As far as possible, we try to work with people who are from the region that we're filming in and we're documenting. This is great for us. We get to tap their very deep knowledge of the region, their experience working there, and that reflects in the content that we have in the film. And we end up giving back. We end up helping them upskill, learn better storytelling, and creating storytellers who will then do more science and documentation in that region. Here's a film about the Bugan community that took a very big step and put aside a part of their community forest to protect a tiny endemic bird. This film is made by a member of the community, a budding filmmaker named Shalina Finia.
Afle panat ye ra quay con siêu bia gió sân khấu na siêu bia la tung đình na con na siêu afle panat ye ra quay con na cái nằm rồi na mới là bằng cả thà mình afle panat ye ra quay con siêu bia gió sân khấu na siêu bia la tung đình na con na siêu afle panat ye ra quay con na
In Arunachal Pradesh, almost 80% of the total forest area is directly under the control of local communities. So this 17 square kilometer Singchung Bugun Village Community Reserve was also created out of one such community control forest area, which in this case is the Bugun community. So this is the land where the critically endangered Bugun Leochikla is found, which has not been reported anywhere else in the world.
Singchung village is home to my community, the Bugun, an indigenous tribe of Arunachal Pradesh. We are a small but old community, and today only 2,000 of us survive in these hills. My name is Shalina Finia and I am Bugun. I love using my camera to document stories of my community. I am part of the forest patrolling team of Singchung Bugun Village Community Reserve.
वाइल्ड लाइफ जो प्रोटेक्ट करने का मेरा स्ट्रेंथ बढ़ गया। अभी हमको मिला है टोटल 9 लड़का 1 लड़की।
हम लोग पेट्रोलिंग हफ्ता में 4 दिन करता है। 10 में से 4 टीम में डिवाइड किया हम लोग पेट्रोलिंग के लिए। तो हम लोग हर रूट को हर अलग अलग दिन में हम लोग कवर करता है। हंटिंग बैन है या टिम्बर कटिंग बैन है या बेम्बू कटिंग बैन है, तो हम लोग बैन तो बोलता है, अगर उसको प्रोटेक्ट नहीं करेगा, हम लोग जाके पेट्रोलिंग नहीं करेगा, तो कोई तो अंदर से कटिंग कर रहा होगा, कोई हंटिंग कर रहा होगा। तो इसलिए हम लोग पेट्रोलिंग स्काउट बनाया ताकि अंदर घुस के हम लोग काम कर सके। जैसे हम पेट्रोलिंग जाता है तो कभी कभी चिड़िया अगर कुछ नया दिखाई दे तो हमको उसको मोबाइल या कैमरा से शूट करके घर में जाके बुक से आइडेंटिफाई करके दिखता है कि आखिर ये क्या चिड़िया है, कौन से नाम का है। तो ऐसे करके घर में आके शाम को चेक करके देख लेता है।
सबसे पहले हम शहर में काम करते समय में तो हमने यहाँ प्लांट्स के बारे में जानकारी काफ़ी अच्छा से मिला है। और हम पेट्रोलिंग करते समय में यहाँ में काफ़ी प्रकार से मिलता है। यहाँ का हम लोग का टीटा पत्ता मिलता है, उससे बहुत चीज़ मेडिसिन बनता है उससे, क्योंकि उसे हाथ करने से आपका उसका खून को ब्लॉक कर सकता है और आपका पेट दर्द से उसको खा सकता है।
นี่เถอะสู้แรกอารึกมินี่เถอะฟงฟูวัวนะผู้รักชิงเถอะแรกอีบีอ้วนเถอะผู้อ้วนเฉียดแป้งเลยนะการพ่มเถอะอารึกมุสาเอาเถอะนี่เถอะแรกเป็น important हुआ।
पहले तो हम लोग बेफिक्र मार देता था, गन लिया मार दो खा दो। सीआर में ज्वाइन किया तब से जंगल जा के जानवर चिड़िया कीड़ा मकोड़ा लोगों के साथ इतना अटैच हो गया, मतलब ऐसा लगता है कि उन लोगों का भाषा भी हम लोग को समझ में आता है, उन लोगों का दर्द हम लोग को समझ में आता है। तो अभी तो हम लोग को लग रहा है कि हम लोग का ही परिवार है।
This does not happen too often that a community becomes so eager and so ready to part with their land which was under their control to make it into a community reserve.
The Singchung forest is not only a hope for the survival of the endangered Bugun chikla, it is also a hope for the revival of the Bugun as a community, our language, our identity, and our future.
Thank you, Neha. I hope you all enjoyed that. You can access all of Roundglass Sustain's content on our website and on our social media handles. Our content's being used by educational institutions to make their curriculum more engaging. It has also been used by conservation organizations to enlist community support for a conservation campaign or to create awareness among donors. We've also partnered with government bodies who've used our content to create awareness. For example, the Rajasthan government showcased some of our content to show how much biodiversity can actually exist in the seemingly barren desert of Rajasthan. The Meghalaya government used our content to educate communities about the cave ecosystems in the state. If you or your organization would like to use Sustain's content for educational purposes or to inspire communities through stories and examples of other communities, please reach out to us. You can also email us with any queries or requests for additional information. We are at sustain@roundglass.com. We really hope you enjoyed this session. I'd like to leave you with a small testimonial video of people who've enjoyed our work and collaborated with us. Thank you.
One of the most important things concerning today's biodiversity in India is a general lack of awareness we have as public, as decision makers, and as leaders regarding the importance of biodiversity for our well-being. Roundglass Sustain is a fantastic initiative bringing together storytellers, wildlife enthusiasts, cartoonists, photographers, and allowing everyone, regardless of their interest and background, to explore the amazing biodiversity of India. This is such an important exercise.
Roundglass is doing something extraordinary in field of conservation. There's not many platforms like that in India where you talk about conservation on such a big scale, whether it's a storytelling in forms of video or digital write-ups. I think that the whole spectrum of variety of things makes Roundglass a very different platform and very interesting platform, very engaging platform.
To make content in local languages for the local people, it just has so much of a greater impact on the ground. And which actually brings me to the kind of work that I've done with Roundglass Sustain. I was actually able to take my Sundarbans series on a global level. I was able to take it all the way up to the United Nations last year. On a more local level, the Bengali versions of the films, we deliberately made them in Bengali as well. Those versions of the film have been a real hit in the region because we've actually shown those films in so many schools, colleges, and various places in and around Bengal and even along Sundarbans and close to Sundarbans, and the response has been so overwhelmingly positive. So really, I can't sort of express enough how proud I am of Roundglass Sustain and my association with the platform, because it is a platform with a heart and a soul and a conscience, and that's really what's making the difference.
As far as the breadth of work goes, apart from linguistic diversity, the stories are also very different, focused either on species, focused either on people, focused either on interaction. So I think it makes for a very holistic storytelling, and it also is very interesting. And since the focus is narrow and the stories are kept short, it is easy to be consumed and grasped and enjoyed. So there is some kind of wonder and awesomeness which happens through these stories.
The most important thing which people are doing is the creating awareness, particularly among the youngsters, particularly among the people who are say sort of a marginally interested. But then when they see the articles, when they see the pictures, and possibly they become much more interested. And another plus point is that you are covering very large, you are covering the biodiversity. So that is a very important point. Otherwise, in India, it is between tiger, elephant, rhino, elephant, tiger, nothing more than that, or the tiger reserves. So you are covering the different types of habitats. Some of the habitats which have not been known to most of the people, and you have got millions of readers. So that is also good, that and it goes to all over the world. So if you type something or some species, and your Roundglass article always comes up somewhere or the other. So even I do not know that there are so many articles published in Roundglass. So I also get to benefited by the articles which have been and the type of articles which you have published.
So I cannot even begin to thank Roundglass Sustain and all the fabulous people that are there behind, like the bottom of the iceberg, for doing what you're doing. What we started Sanctuary 40 years ago, you guys are going to make that into the mountain that it should be. You're going to make it into the life raft that it should be. You're going to explain to the world that this is a beautiful planet, and destroying it is probably the stupidest thing you could ever think of doing. So thank you, Roundglass. More power to you.